So I've grown a little bit complacent in my post-graduation days, but I've been meaning to make this video for a while. What you're looking at here is, of course, the most played country in this damn game, Brandenburg. Now, Brandenburg doesn't have as strong a start as some of the other HRE guys, like Bohemia or Austria. They have some rivals like Saxony. But overall, their start isn't bad, and with a little finagling, it's easy to overcome your HRE rivals. Their start is a lot of fun, partly because you're in the HRE, which, as you all have to admit, does make things a little spicier in the early game, in some ways. There's so much diplomacy to complement your fighting, there's so many people of different strengths all around you, there are immediately so many directions you can go. So I'd probably give Brandenburg start a 9 out of 10, with 1 point being taken off for the HRE, which, while fun in a lot of ways, can still be very frustrating when it limits your expansion with aggressive expansion stuff. When it comes to events and ideas, Brandenburg is definitely highly privileged. They have the Prussian ideas, which are heavily military focused and all around just incredible. You get plus 20% morale and plus 20% infantry combat ability, so you already have a leg up on France there. Plus 1 army tradition yearly and minus 10% aggressive expansion for your traditions, and plus 5% discipline for your ambitions. In terms of events, Brandenburg's most certainly at the center of the world. They have lots of their own events and lots of HRE specific ones as well. Playing as Brandenburg, you will not go long at all without getting a special event, as I found in my game. I'd give their events and ideas overall an 8.5 out of 10. They're incredible and highly developed, but the kind of asymmetry of all their stuff towards military is very heavy, and I tend to like a little more of a balance in a country, although, of course, their ideas are very good, so it's just about personal preference. Now, for those of you who have watched the previous videos in this series, you will 100% know that my review tends to fall off for the mid to late game. There are a lot of countries like Songhai of the last review for whom the overall playability suffers because once you expand to being the strongest power in your area, the game just kind of loses direction and things become very repetitive and everything is just kind of steamrolling over your neighbors, either steamrolling or just fighting against the game. Brandenburg does not suffer from that problem really until very late game, and if even then. Their game is basically fun all the way through. Brandenburg is probably the most consistently fun country I've ever played in this game. I've probably played around 20 or 25 games at least. You start off with enemies about as strong as you, and then you expand a bit and come to rival people like Austria or Hungary or Bohemia, and then beyond those you have the Commonwealth, France, Scandinavia, England, etc. Then when you get beyond them, you have the ever blobby Russia and Ottomans. So basically, until you control all of Europe, you always have people who still rival you and who make the experience much more interesting and complex. There are also a lot of different directions you can always go. As I've said before, that's the benefit of kind of being at the center of the continent. Everyone can, to a certain extent, go in these directions. Everyone can go north, south, east, or west, but Brandenburg has a particularly good way of doing that because they're just so strong and have that power to swing around everywhere they want. So this is controversial to me because I'm not even sure I agree with myself, but I think I'm going to give Brandenburg a 10 out of 10 on overall playability. Now that's not on absolute scale, that's on a relative scale, because I genuinely don't think there's anyone in this game for whom, in terms of playability, the game is more fun than Brandenburg. It's definitely not my favorite country overall. It's just that it's kind of has this, it's more like objectively satisfying in terms of mechanics and gameplay, but you know, there's still some personal preference there. And finally, Brandenburg's role-playing ability. So Brandenburg is, as you probably know, rather famous for its tag switching ability. And tag switching is probably, to me, tag switching is definitely the most fun part of this game. It's like the thing to always look forward to. You can form Prussia. I don't really know why you wouldn't. You can form Germany, which is what I did in my game, I think. Yeah, I went the Germany route. Or, of course, you can take on the challenge of forming the HRE, which is a rather large adventure in itself, and which I've never done, unfortunately. To me, the parts of German history most interesting are times when Germany was not unified, so like HRE years. So the concept of unifying Germany in EU4 is not that exciting in terms of historical role-playing, although I do understand how it could be. But for that reason, I give Brandenburg an 8 out of 10 on role-playing. Mostly, again, on those -2 mostly come from personal preference. Of course, it's excellent, and you'll be hard-pressed to find a country with more tag-switching opportunities, but it's not necessarily my favorite. But of course, you're right at the center of the game's universe, so to each their own. Perhaps Brandenburg's greatest shortcoming is its color. We all know that after tag switching, map color is the most important feature of a country. I think we all know that. No matter what tag switching you do, Brandenburg never becomes nice to look at, in my opinion. It's always kind of grayish, brownish, like sludgy looking. Germany is definitely a little better than the others because it has this kind of tealish hue to it, but it still just leaves a lot to be desired. So for the brand new 5th category I'm adding on to this Rate That Country, I'm going to give Brandenburg a whopping 3 out of 10 for color quality. This has been a Rate That Country on Brandenburg. It's really unrivaled in terms of pure old-fashioned fun. So if you've never played Brandenburg by some miracle, you should really check it out. See you guys next time.